Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Asim. I'm working as DevOps engineer. Guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how we can set up the application development environment through Docker. Even if you're not using Docker in your production environment or in your development environment, but still you will get the benefit of using Docker. And I'm going to show you how you can use that and how it is going to help you and how it is going to efficiently and smartly develop your application environment in this modern age, right? So let's begin. So what I have done, guys, I've created a repository for you guys with some application, and we are going to use Python in this demo. But one thing I need to tell you, some of the stuff I would like to show you. First of all, what you need to do, create your simple account. It's a free account. I've created it. So what you need to do, navigate to this Docker Hub, right, and simply type Python. So if you type Python here, you will see the official stuff regarding, for instance, we are watching the official Python, right? So if I go back, you will see a lot of stuff regarding Python. But let's say our application is Python and we want to use specific versions of Python. And you will be wondering, hey, I can use the Python virtual environment to install some of the stuff. So that particular approach is not really efficient. The reason I'm saying that you need to set up different environment and it will create a lot of time, right? And you have to install a lot of dependencies, all that stuff. So instead of doing that, for instance, let's take the example of different Python virtual environments. And if you see, we are watching currently the Python official images. So I just want to relate that particular example of Python virtual environment with these tags. For instance, if you want to create Python virtual environment with this version 3.9 and the minor version is 16, right? Or this version, right? Anyway, let's assume that you want to set up multiple Python environments, and let's just not now take the example of different applications. For instance, you're using Python, or you can take Golang, simply type Golang here. Just these are examples. So if you take the example of Golang, if you navigate to these tags, different tags are available pushed by their official um companies to these repo, and they are actually maintaining it, managing it, fix the bugs, and you don't have to do anything. And the reason we are going to use Docker in our development environment that we don't have to do anything. For instance, if we are going to use the Docker, we don't have to install anything on our local machine, whether you are using Windows machine or let's say if you are using Ubuntu machine, right? For instance, let's say you're using Ubuntu. This is the sample. So if you are not good with Docker command line, you can install the Docker desktop on Ubuntu, Mac OS. So I'm going to show you the example related to the Docker development environment. So how it is going to differ. So for instance, if you open this repo, what we are going to do, first of all, let's clone this repo. And if I clone this repo, simply what you need to do to get this understanding. So let me do that. And I'm going to navigate to my desktop, and we are going to run two Python application without creating Python virtual environment. Python is not installed on my Windows host machine, but we are going to use the Python version 3.6 and 3.11. So let's see how we can do that and what benefits it from it we will get. So what you need to do git clone, simply clone this repo, and it is going to simply clone this repo. So this is very basic app what we have inside. So let me open this in VS Code, and I'm going to show you from the UI as well. So this is the sample application in environment. You see, I have Python 3.11 version and Python 3.6. So in this, I have just hello app and I've created a bash script to create those. So the point here is that in Bash script, I've added dependencies that, for instance, if you are running in the environment, for instance, if you're using the Python 3.6, it should not run your application. So this is the bash script, so it will automatically detect that, right? And for instance, if you navigate to the Python 3.6 and in the same section here, 3.6, it also has a dependencies. If the Python version is not 3.6, it is going to fail. So how we can even test these? So for here, I've added these command. For understanding, you just have to simply copy paste this command. For instance, if you are on Mac OS or Linux, like Ubuntu or CentOS, you have to simply install Docker, right? And Docker installation is very, very simple. You can do that. And regarding the Docker installation, let me tell you, you can simply navigate to Google, right? And type Docker script. Simply click this guy, click this area, right? And for instance, I want to install Docker on my Ubuntu machine. Although I've already installed it, I'm going to just simply show this is my server, right, with the public IP, but I just want to show you. Download this script and simply do here. Copy this command and paste it. What it does, it is going to install the latest version of Docker and Docker Compose version 2. That's it. That's all you need to do. So that is regarding the Docker installation on Linux and Windows. You can simply install the desktop. Even on the Linux Ubuntu desktop, you can set up the Docker desktop. Now it's available for Mac OS and Linux. Now we are going to take for the understanding of our development of our application environment. What we're going to do, we are going to copy this command, right? For instance, I am in window, right? So Docker is installed here. Let me stop this guy. So for instance, if you're Windows, what you need to do is simply type power, right click this, run as admin. It is going to open this PowerShell, right? So simply paste this command. So this command docker run dash dash name Python 3.6. I'm calling this guy this name. You can give it any name, right? So what it does, it is going to create the container name by this, and it is going to create a one volume with that slash f. So currently I don't have anything on my desktop regarding the app. So let me do this guy, and you will see shortly once we run this particular command, app directory is going to be created, which is going to be mounted inside our Docker container slash mnt. Our working directory is slash mnt, right? And we are running, we are exposing two ports, we are mapping two ports. For instance, inside our container, our application is going to be running on port 5000, let's say on 8080 as well, just adding additional stuff for just understanding. We want Python, we want to set up the Python environment, right? For instance, Python virtual environment, and this is the virtual environment. If you do that, simply what you need to do, it's going to create this directory and it is going to download that particular script. Although I've already downloaded it, that's why I don't have to, I mean, if I do Docker images, you will see the images as well are already available on my host machine. That's why it's spin up quickly, right? So simply close this guy. Similar stuff you can do on Linux. And if I do the same stuff regarding the understanding, for instance, if you want to do, for instance, on your Linux box in virtual machine, for instance, I'm going to remove this guy. I'm going to run this on my Ubuntu. So if I do hostname CTL, so this is my Ubuntu box. I just want to show you, right? And if I do get etc os release, so this is the version, right? So simply same command you can run on Linux box. So if I do docker ps and if I do ls, you see it's created a directory here. So we are doing the parallel stuff, understanding on both Windows and Linux. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply, first of all, let me I'm going to bring this guy here. You see, this directory is blank. For instance, this is my application. Just assume that this is your application code living on your host machine, right? On your local machine. I just want to bring this guy here, and it's going to be stay safe. Even if the Docker container is stopped, it is going to be live here. For instance, let me stop this guy. For instance, you see, this is the Python version. So stop this container, right? And this is the app directory. Everything is there unless you remove yourself, right? So everything is there. So I mean, I'm going to simply start it. So let me do the start. So I'm going to take one shell here. uh, I'm going to simply start this guy, right? So let me do that. I'm going to do simple start of this machine and this, I mean, container. So I'm going to type Python. Name of the container is Python dash 3 dash 6 because I need this version, right? So if I do, I'm going to take one shell into this guy. So simply I'm going to copy this guy and paste it here and take a bash shell into this. So you see, mnt is my directory, and you see in this container, I'm able to see this application. This is my application inside my Docker container. So it is a Linux guy, right? So let's try to run my application. For instance, this is just a hello world code, but regarding the understanding, if I do navigate to environment, and this is my virtual environment. If I do Python dash to tab, these are the version of Python available, right? So we have already done the mounting outside, and what we need to for understanding, we need to run our application. So what it does, this bash script is going to create app.py, which I've already done that. So if I navigate to 3.6, right? So you see, I've added the script as well, but what it does, simply it is going to create app.py. To run this particular application, what you need to do, you need to simply copy this command and paste it. But one thing I need to tell you, if you're on Windows environment, best thing is that to make sure you use the DOS to Linux command conversion to make sure everything is Linux compatible. So for that, what you need to do, simply copy this command and paste inside this container, right? So what it does, it is going to update and install DOS to Unix utility, and simply I'm adding this step to make sure everything you run on this machine is regarding the Linux related. So simply I'm using this command, and I'm going to use star here, right, which is the wildcard. So every file is going to be converted into Unix. So to run my application, right? So what I'm going to do, first of all, let's check what is our code, right? So let me open this in VS Code, open this guy, and we are totally focusing on our application, and our virtual environment is created, and we are looking Python 3.6. This is our application code, right? And we are going to simply run this hello world app and simply use this command to run your application. So no module name flasks, right? And to make sure everything is working, I'm going to simply run this script because I've run the fresh container. That's why it gives us error. So what we have inside this bash script, right? Because previously I've started the container in this particular bash script. What it does, it is going to install this stuff like you see Python 3.6 pip install Flask version, right? So we need Flask version, and we are going to create one file app.py. So previously error showing that Flask was absent. So what we are going to do, we are going to run this particular script, and it is going to override that particular app.py, right? and our application is going to be then compatible, and it is going to run this that particular command again. So if I navigate back to this section, for instance, let's type HTTP localhost localhost 5000. Your virtual environment is ready, and let's try to, for instance, you make any changes in your application. Simply you want to test it, and let's say in this particular application I just want to do some of the changes. Hello world, and let's say from Python 3.6, right? And we have saved it. So to test the application again, simply what you need to do, run this code Python 3.6 your application. That's it. And it's going to rerun that. And simply if you navigate to this section, refresh it, you see your application is available. So that is just understanding how you can, even without installing or creating the Python virtual environment, and you can easily develop your application. And definitely if you use the Docker, you can create multiple containers. Your application is going to talk to Redis. There is no need to install Redis. There is no need to set up the RabbitMQ. Simply you need to do Docker Compose. And what Docker Compose does, it is going to create a custom network, and through DNS names, it is going to contact the other containers. So that is the most efficient way in regarding the application development environment. So you can quickly test your code. For instance, this is the Python 3.6, right? I am going to run a new version, or for instance, I just want to check the same version, or let's say different version. I want to use the Python 3.11 version, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply use this command and similar stuff. For instance, if I do in Linux and simply run this particular command, right? So okay, it says the port is already allocated. So what we need to do, um, we need to update this particular command. So let me simply remove it. I'm going to update this command because port 5001, you see, is already mapped. So that is why it is complaining, right? And here I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do, let's say, let me edit this file, and I'm going to update this port live. So you will definitely get the understanding that how we can easily achieve this stuff. So for instance, we were on Linux, you see this is the port, that's why it's causing the issue. And if I simply update this port to different port, right, and I'm going to simply copy this guy, and before that I need to remove this container. Let me save this stuff as well by committing it, and I'm going to simply remove this guy, docker remove. Guys, if you watch this video, you will get the easy understanding, right? So guys, we are going to run the same command on our box, like we are testing our same commands on Linux. If you want to use the desktop, you can do that. You see, it is now successfully run. So we now have two environment running on our machines, and these are development environments. Just like if you want to work in Golang, Python, Ruby, Node.js, simply navigate to Docker Hub and type, let's say, just type Node. You will get all the version relevant to your application by the official companies pushing their latest version, old version with the compatible slim, and you don't need to even install on your local machine without polluting your local system. You can easily isolate your development environment just like I've shown you. So I'm going to close this guy just for understanding. I've used the Linux, and I've shown you this as well. For instance, if you're using the Linux box, so we are using this guy. So now let's see if I open this desktop guy, right? So currently what we have running Python 3.6 virtual environment. I want to use a new version and I want to test my application. So instead of creating the new virtual environment, simply I'm running these copy paste commands, and these official baked images already provided by the official developers or whatever. What you need to do, I need to simply find this guy. Instead, I want to use this guy. You see, I'm just typing here, and these are, you can say, your virtual environment. I want to use this guy. So I've already, clone it. So that's why we are going to simply copy paste this command. You see, this is the version and tag, and I'm using Windows. So I'm going to open one shell here. Simply navigate to this section, copy, run this administrator, paste this command. So you see name, I've changed it to Python 3.11, right? So it is going to mount that particular, mount on the same directory, which is the app directory and /mnt. So what you will see, everything is going to be available inside that particular container. So this is my development Python environment created. That's it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a new shell, right? So if I do docker ps, you will see two environment are already running, Python 3-6, Python 3.11. So simply I'm going to take a shell. For instance, I'm a developer. I'm developing application. I want to test, on this version. So simply I'm going to type the name of this container, right? Python 3-11, type bash, and I will be inside this container. So let me show you what we have in this environment. Python tab, you see 3.11 is available. So this is what I need. And what I'm going to do, navigate to this application and navigate to app. Just this is very basic example. I'm using hello world. So I'm going to navigate to this 11 version. So if I do ls here, and some of the stuff, as I told you, I'm using Windows. So what I'm going to do, navigate to this guy, and I'm going to simply copy this section. For instance, I'm going to apt update toast unix command. I'm going to run this. It is going to install this package toast to Unix and convert your Windows related stuff into Unix. For instance, why we need the conversion? We are using the VS Code. It is mounted on Windows machine, and some of if you run the bash script, so sometimes it is not compatible. So this is the way some of the errors you can fix. That's why we are using that particular command. Let's say we want to use Python 3.11, and you can use that particular same version as well. But let's say I just wanna use this version Python 3.11, and we are going to run that particular command, and it is going to check for the Python version. It is going to install the Flask on this machine. So let's try to do that, and simply I'm going to, let's try to say DOS to Unix star, and I'm going to run this particular script. What it does, it is going to override the existing app.py, and it is going to, first of all, you see, install Flask on my container. That's what I need. And it's going to simply run these command to spin up these, run my application, which is listing on port 8080. If you navigate to this section, you see, I'm here in this section. You see, port 80 is mapped to port 8081 outside. So if I simply do type here, HTTP, right? Simply type localhost and colon 8081. This is your application. Let's say I have done some update in my application. Let's say hello world from Python.11, right? I'm going to say press Control C. This is normally you run your application, you test your application in your local machine Python. Simply in the shell, you need to type this guy. That's it. navigate to this section, simply update this. So guys, this is the understanding. If you are able to understand, there is no need to create many virtual environment regarding the development. There is no need to do massive type of installation. You just need to understand this video, need to understand this concept. Everything is already there, provided by official companies, their latest tags. This is how people do development in modern era. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe the channel. If you have any questions, please do comment. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.